Hello. So we're doing Granny Torrelli for the first time. This is going to be session 1 for Granny Torrelli. I'm very excited. I'm only going to do about 1, 2, 3 more videos for Granny Torrelli, and then we'll be set. Just to let everyone know, I am posting pictures of all of the Stop and Jot charts just because we will eventually use the Stop and Jots to do another assignment. So that is coming up, just to let you guys know. I know in the video it's it is hard to see what I'm writing here. Once a Stop and Jot chart is complete, I am going to post a picture of it. It's just I don't want to keep posting pictures and then writing on it and pictures, and you guys get it. So once this chart is complete, I will also take a picture of this one and put it up on our Google Classroom as well. I will also make sure that I'm trying to be good about saying page numbers. That way when you guys stop and jot, you are also getting page numbers for evidence. So if you do not have in front of you right now a blank Stop and Jot paper, or at least one that you were working on with Granny Torrelli, please get out, pause the video, and get out a Stop and Jot form to continue with Granny Torrelli. I am going to do a little summary before we continue on, just because we haven't read Granny Torrelli in a while, and I'm going to use my Stop and Jots to help me, because I know that looking back at my own thinking is going to help jog my memory with what's happening. I'm going to start off my summary the way readers and writers always discuss a summary. So in the book Granny Torrelli Makes Soup by Sharon Creech, the characters are Granny Torrelli, who is the grandmother to Rosie. Rosie has a best friend, Bailey, who is blind. We know that Bailey at the beginning said, "Get over yourself, Rosie." And then eventually we found out what the problem was to make Bailey say that. We then learned that Rosie learned Braille as a surprise to Bailey, but he did not take it as a welcome surprise at first, and he got really angry with her. They did make amends, but now we have a new problem. And this is where I'm looking at my Stop and Jots, because that was information that I knew in my head, but now I need help. So here I see that we are in our new story, because this book is broken up into 2 parts. So we're in part 2. We also we're introduced to a new character, Violetta. But Violetta is part of Granny Torrelli's memory, because Granny Torrelli is telling us a story. And we also have a new character, Janine. As a class, we did say that we were seeing a lot of parallels between what was happening in real life in Granny Torrelli Makes Soup, and then between the stories Granny Torrelli is sharing with Rosie to help her navigate these problems. As a class, we already came up to the conclusion that Violetta is Janine. Not literally she is the same person, but she is representing that person. We last left off, I have a question here, page 97. Who is at the window? Is it Janine? So the last thing we read was that there was a knock at the window as Granny Torrelli was about to continue a story. So I'm taking the bookmark out, and we're going to continue reading until we get to page 98. We're going to read until page 116 today. Janine. Janine is standing outside, waving and smiling. I slink to the door, let her in, and arrange my mouth into a smile, but it's so hard. I feel as if my face will crack into many pieces and fall onto the floor at her feet. I'm making a Stop and Jot there because I like how Rosie is saying my face will crack, and before I remember she was calling herself an ice queen, so that's making me think about how Rosie's really picturing herself as ice, because ice is something that would crack. So that's page 98. 98. My face would crack. Ice Queen. Ice Queen Rosie. I kind of like Ice Queen Rosie. She's a little sassy. She hugs me. "Hey, Bailey," she says, and rushes over to squeeze him to bits. "And who's this?" she says, smiling down at Granny Torrelli, sitting in her chair. This is Granny Torrelli, I say. And then I add dumbly, she's mine. Granny Torrelli smiles at me, then at Janine. You must be Janine. Oh, Janine says, tossing her frizzy, cool black hair. You've heard about me then. Granny Torrelli says, I heard a new girl, a nice girl, name of Janine, moved into the neighborhood. I am figuring that might be you. Janine beams at Granny Torrelli. That is me, she says brightly. It's all I can do to keep my inside tiger from jumping out. I take a couple deep breaths and try to stay calm. We're making pasta, I say. Really? She draws out the word. Really? As if making pasta is some extraordinary thing she has never heard of, ever in her life. People really make pasta? That's so fascinating. Like, how do you do it? Oh, I need to stop and jot here. I'm going to gag because of Janine. She's so annoying. Rosie might be a tiger. Miss Adorno does not like her. Janine makes me sick. So that was where she, do they really do that? That was on page 100. Page 100. Do they really do that? Janine there we go. Granny Torrelli glances at me quickly, checking to see if my tiger is in rain, maybe. Granny Torrelli explains to Janine about the flour and the eggs and the dough, but before she can finish, Janine interrupts her. Oh, this is so extremely fascinating. And I am thinking I will die if she stays to help us. I want to tie her up right now and throw her out the window. Bailey is standing there smiling his smile at everyone. His hands are still in the dough bowl. But I am rescued, at least, from that one wretched thing. Janine says, I would so love to stay and watch, but I can't. She turns to Bailey. I just went over to your house, Bailey, but your mom said that you were here. Grr, she didn't even come to see me. Her new best friend. Janine races on. I just need to know, Bailey, what time tomorrow can I come over for my first Braille lesson? Granny Torrelli heaves herself out of the chair and comes towards me as if she's going to the sink. She gives me one quick look, a simple look, but full of meaning. Her look is a warning to my tiger self. But it's something else, too. As if she's being a little bit of a comfort. So I'm going to pause there. That's page 101, so 101. Granny Torrelli is warning Rosie here in a way, being like, don't you dare. But she's also like, don't you dare, Rosie, but I get why you're mad, right? And I think that that's a really good piece of evidence to put on our claim chart for that Granny Torrelli is a problem solver. So page 101, GT gives R a look. And we do have to remember that something that happened is that Bailey offered to teach Janine Braille, which really made Rosie not so happy because she worked so hard to learn it. And then there he is just offering that to Janine. And suddenly, I am thinking, oh no, not tomorrow. Please not tomorrow. Because I haven't yet reminded Bailey that tomorrow we're having the pasta party. Today we will make the pasta and the sauce, and tomorrow we will put it all together. Me and Granny Torrelli and Bailey and Carmelita and my mom and Pop. And I can't tell Bailey this now, because then Janine will want to come to the pasta party too. And I don't want Janine at our pasta party, even if she is my new best friend, who is not really my best friend at all. But maybe Bailey knows about tomorrow. Maybe Carmelita has told him, because he says to Janine, I can't tomorrow. Sorry. How about Monday after school? I am wanting to hug that Bailey boy for telling her not tomorrow, but I'm also wanting to slug him for Monday after school. Janine does not miss a beat. Oh, that's okay, Bailey. Monday is great. Perfect. You want to come to my house? Grr. Sure, Bailey says. Perfect, she says, tossing her frizzy, cool black hair. Bye, Bailey. She squeezes his arm and pats his shoulder. Bye, Granny Torrelli. Smiles her perfect white smile. Bye, Rosie. And hugs my tiger self. Bye, bye, bye. And she is gone. And we are left in the wake of all that smiling Janine girl. Granny Torrelli is standing right next to me. And as the door closes, she whispers in my ear one word. Violetta. So we were right. I'm putting a star next to our Stop and Jot that we think Violetta is Janine, because Granny Torrelli just told us that she's Violetta, essentially. So I'm putting a huge star next to that because Granny Torrelli just made a point of saying that to Rosie. We were right. Go us. All right. Let's do another one. Haircut. Terrible silence in the room for several long minutes, until Granny Torrelli examines the dough and says, Okay, dough needs to rest a bit. And she puts the bowl to one side. Bailey goes to the sink to wash his hands, and I flounder there in the middle of the kitchen like a fish that has been thrown to shore. Granny Torrelli sits back down and says, So, do you want to hear more about Violetta? Bailey and I answer quickly, yes, as if we are both grateful for Granny filling up the silence in the room. I am not too proud of what I am going to tell you, she says. But I don't think you'll hold it against me. She smiles at me. So there is Violetta with the long, beautiful hair gushing over my Pardo. And there is Pardo, like her little slave, helping her carry this and that, and I am turning into a monster. So mad at both of them. Granny Torrelli leans forward, lowers her voice as if what she's about to say is a secret. So one day, I get that Violetta alone, and I ask her if she isn't all hot with that heavy hair hanging down her back. And she says, well, a little. And I tell her that I bet she would feel so much better if she chopped all that long hair off. And I bet she would look really cute with short hair. This is not true. I do not think she would look really cute with short hair. I am a monster. Bailey dries his hands, sits at the table. And, he says, and then what? I tell her, I am a good hair cutter. Another lie. And I get the scissors and I convince Violetta to chop off her beautiful long hair. Granny Torrelli! So that is page 106. I can't believe Granny Torrelli did that. Page 106. GT chopped off her hair. V's hair. Oh my goodness. That's sassafras. No, I say. Not really. Really, Granny Torrelli says, reaching up to finger her own hair, which is tucked into a bun in the back of her head. I chop, all that beautiful long hair falling to the ground, and in the middle of chopping, I get afraid. What am I doing? I slow down a bit, be more careful. I even up the sides. I take a little more off here, fiddle with it. And the whole time Violetta is sitting there with her hand over her mouth, uttering little squeals as her hair falls away. Bailey is shaking his head. He can't believe my Granny Torrelli would be a monster girl. So I finish, Granny Torrelli says. My hands are shaking. Violetta stands up, tosses her head, and I almost fell over dead when I take a good look at her. She must have looked pretty bad. Page 107. Was it awful? I ask. I'm already thinking of taking scissors to Janine's head and snipping off all that cool frizzy black hair. Did Violetta look really ugly? Granny Torrelli taps the table 1, 2, 3 times. No, she did not look ugly. She looked even more beautiful. Well, I'm changing my stop and jot. I'm changing it from she must have looked bad, ... not. Of course. Bailey laughs. I gasp. But, I don't know what I want to say. Too many things bubbling up in my throat. And Pardo, I finally say? What did he think of Violetta's new short hair? Granny Torrelli says, Puh! He thought she looks like a movie star. Granny Torrelli gets up, says, I have to take a little pause. And off she goes to the bathroom, leaving me and Bailey alone in the too quiet kitchen with the dough and the thoughts of Janine and Violetta swirling in the air. So I'm going to, speaking of taking a pause, I'm going to pause us there. I think that makes a good stopping point for us. So I wanted to just go over the stop and jots that I did today. Again, once I finish this chart, I will post a picture of it. That way, if you missed any page numbers, you have them. So we kind of just saw more of Janine. She's very bubbly. She's very personal. I mean, she's definitely a sweet girl. I don't think she's malicious, but she's definitely very intense. Then we also have the story from Granny Torrelli now, and thinking about how Granny Torrelli has a bit of a dark side. So we have to think about that and keep that in mind when we're going back to our chart of Granny Torrelli is a problem solver. And other than that, we'll continue this tomorrow. Alrighty? See you guys then. Bye.